Welcome to Second Take, the show that focuses on the issues behind the news. Mining Weekly editor Martin Creamer joins me today to unpack the latest in the mining industry. Welcome, Martin.
Thanks, Ashni.
Tell us about the need for South Africa to ramp up critical minerals exploration as the world decarbonises.
If our mining industry is going to continue to be socially important, socially economically important, and particularly economically important, we've got to realize that there's a change in the world and they need critical metals. For some reason or other, we just haven't looked for these while the rest of the world has been hunting for them. And the chances are they are here. Also, I think with lithium, we see lithium in Namibia, we see lithium in Mozambique. And one of the Australian investors during the Joburg and Durban said, the chances are it's also in South Africa. And what he was saying is that in Western Australia, they just included lithium in their assays. So when they were checking and assaying the metals that they're in the ground, and suddenly they found that there's lithium there. So with our assaying here, we should be checking for these critical metals. And if it comes to cobalt, I want to really find out exactly what's going on with cobalt, because there has been a report which said that the pyrometallurgical way of processing our platinum group metals destroys the cobalt. So if we're burning our cobalt, that has got to end. And anyway, people should be looking at a different way of processing the platinum group metals rather than through excessive heat and huge temperatures. There are hydrometallurgical ways of doing it, and the reports that came through said you save the cobalt if you take the hydrometallurgical route. Well, we need that cobalt. They cannot continue to destroy cobalt if they are doing it. And I'd like someone to say we're not, because if we are, it is our national patrimony that is just being burnt up there, and it's got to stop. And then, we've got to emphasize the copper. They're looking for copper out in the Northern Cape, look in a very systematic way. The nickels as well. But you've got a whole new approach. You need graphite, you need to look for different things. And I must say, this is where the South African mining industry has fallen down. I mean, they can blame the government as much as they like. But if they haven't even included this in their assaying, if they just, got blinkers on, I think that they're doing the country damage. Now, they talk about strikes, and when Labour goes on strike, they get very upset, how can you go on strike? What they've been doing is they've been on an investment strike, and this must end, because it's not really any reward for us. If they got licensed operations, they've been given long-term ability to mine there, they must do their utmost to keep mining going. They must be looking around for other things. And it's all very well saying, you can't get exploration licenses and everything else. I notice they get renewal licenses. They get, their mining license renewed. So why aren't they looking for exploration as well? Why aren't they saying, well, look, we want to explore there. Who owns that? They have let the country down big time. So the mining industry mustn't just point fingers at the government. They must look in the mirror and say, we haven't done this and we're going to change now. Because if they're not going to do this, and we also have this huge backlog of applications, we're going to lose out on being a mining industry.
Now, Sibanye-Stillwater is undertaking an underground pumped energy storage feasibility study.
Now, this is very important. There are so many shafts on care and maintenance. There are other shafts that, are part of existing mines. And we see Sibanye very cleverly there getting ThyssenKrupp of Germany to come in and see how can we use that water effectively. We need energy. Water is a source of hydropower, clean power. If you can use gravity to allow that water to fall from an upper reservoir to a lower reservoir, and you put your turbines in between, you can get a generation of electricity. And this is what they're looking at now. And we see many other companies also looking at this. We also know there are a whole lot of coal mine shafts out there on care and maintenance. There they are. They've got water, which is like a battery underground. If you can use renewable energy to get that to an upper reservoir, and then when you need that power most, you let it fall to a lower reservoir, you can generate electricity. And I get quite angry when this is coming up now, because we first wrote about this 30 years ago. I mean, we went in and said this can be done. And again, the mines, they're myopic. They refuse to change. And this is damaging to our country. They didn't foresee that, electricity prices were going to be high. How could they not foresee? And then say, well, it's gone up 500% in the last 10 years. They saw it. Why didn't they immediately start doing things like this? Because this would have really, I don't think it's really stoppable. I don't think the government can say, well, what you're doing in a tunnel of a mine, your water's coming down there anyway. And, what are they going to say about it? I don't think they're going to be able to stop it. And if they were going to stop it, why didn't they appeal to them not to do this? So, the mining industry must look at itself in the mirror. At last, it's starting to work properly. You see some of the mines they want wind energy from the east and west, and they want solar power from Northern Cape, and they want to make sure that, at least they get a base load assured from renewable energy, and they're working with the government. It's fantastic. I'm glad they're doing it, but heck, it's taken long. And if they were being blocked by, the Department of Minerals, Resources and Energy, they should have spoken out about it. Let's be transparent now. We want full transparency. If the government is blocking something, let people shout from the rooftops, because we've got to get this through. And this is a fantastic idea. Even as I'm going back to those coal mines, those coal mines have acidified the soil where they are. And they need to do something about that. And if you look at some of the agricultural products, there's certain agricultural products that love acid soil. Why aren't you doing more there? These coal mining companies, they are looking to deplete and then go into other metals and minerals. A lot of them, these new critical metals and minerals. That's fantastic. And there's a transition. This just transition must look at all sorts of opportunities there, including agricultural opportunities. And some of them are. I can see that they're doing it, which is very laudatory. Others, when you ask them about it, they don't give you much. And so I think that there should be a lot more transparency. We need to have companies that are in coal mining particularly. If they're not on the stock exchange, they must report. They must give us reports as if they were on the stock exchange. And if they don't, they must be forced to get on the stock exchange. So we want to know what's going on there. And they could be doing a lot in this just transition, which is absolutely essential.
Lastly, Martin, there is concern that the country's mining boom is papering over structural issues.
Yes, this was raised this week by, the Nedbank spokesman who's very close to the mining industry. The boom is great, but it tends to paper over very serious structural issues that underlie this industry. And a lot of it centers on this investment strike I've been talking about. They haven't been investing because there has not been a good relationship between the government and the mining industry, or not a relationship sufficiently good to persuade them to invest. And then there's also been red tape to get additional licenses. So we are in a bit of a fool's paradise. We see this fantastic performance of the mining industry paying record taxes, and it is lulling us. We're being lulled into a false sense of security with this industry. It is structurally in need of massive change. Exploration has got to be released. All that 5,000 applications, a backlog, that backlog has got to be dealt with. I mean, obviously the government is unable to do it. And when you ask them, they don't give you clear answers, even at ministerial level. They don't tell you how much has been reduced in that backlog. It's absolutely key to reduce that backlog. That should be the number one priority with the cadastre. And that cadastre must give us transparency of what's available. But they're sitting there, they won't spell out transparently, even though we pay them, what is going on there. And I think the time has come for them to admit they can't do it, and for people to be hired from the private sector or anywhere to come in there and to get rid of that backlog, because that backlog is actually preventing so much investment. It's preventing so many jobs not being created. And when we look at the jobs, we must look at the mining industry. You don't only look at what's happening in mining, you look at that supply chain. It's unbelievable. And it generates so many jobs. So the time has come for people to be open now. We've got to fix the structural problems, and we've got to think about South Africa first. We've got to think about, giving jobs immediately. And the only way we can do that is if the government gets its act together, particularly in this mining sector.
Thanks for speaking with us, Martin.
It's a great pleasure, Sashni.
That's it for today. Join us again next week for more news analysis on the local and global mining industries. And don't forget to listen to the audio version of our Mining Weekly daily email newsletter.